Okay, I should be live, and I have to kind of look at the directions because I'm driving home from work. Uh, I don't know which way it wants me to go out, but I guess I'll. This looks. It's all screwed up. I think it's sorting itself out. The GPS around here is sometimes pretty screwy. But I'm on track. Oh, you know what? I didn't get gas. Oh well. Guess I could still get off and get it. No, I think it'll be okay for tomorrow. Anyway, so I labeled this live stream from John 14, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 too is very pertinent to that title, which has to do with Jesus, uh, who's evidence to be dough, um, is saying that he will show those who would be his students, his father, his older member, upon his return. That's what he was talking about them about. That was the context. And uh, and if you read all those verses, you'll see the context there. It's very plain. And he says he won't be talking about his father in parables, and he would show us the father. And see, that's different than when he was there and he was talking about the father, and they were confused about who the father was, understandably, and some thought he was beside himself the way he was talking, of course, understandably, and that's the way it works. But he was setting it up because he knew the father was going to come back with him. I mean, he was given a certain amount of uh, knowing when his father was telling him something, even though the father was unseen. But Doe felt like uh, Jesus did have a physical experience with his older member, with his heavenly Father, who was not in the heavens at that point, if he was working directly on the earth, although that could be done at a distance to some degree, I guess. I'm sure it has a different effect. Uh, they want to make it as real as possible relative to what people during any of the time can handle. We can't handle that much. It's hard to handle what Tiendo brought. It doesn't look like it's hard to handle. It looks like, well, but the very fact that it's, well, should I just get gas? Yeah, I think they're closed. Yeah, they are. If I do see a gas stop, I'll get some gas. But so I can talk about this till I'm blue in the face, and maybe I will. Um, and and every once in a while, somebody's gonna hear it. Not that they have to get it from me; they could get it through all different ways. Uh, they're gonna hear it in a new way, and they're gonna have something go off in their head that says, "Wow, that something like that was real. That really happened." And it's not just some story that became the biggest story to last for thousands of years. Every time the story was told, which became a different religion, even though the next level has different kinds of experiments. They're not all geared towards graduation. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. They're not all, well, they're in preparation, some for graduation, and potentially those could become a graduation exercise as well. And actually, I think that's what happened. When Jesus said that he had another flock, he said it. I didn't make it up. That they didn't know about in a different land that they don't know about. Yeah, that's pretty direct uh, indication of a new location other than Jerusalem. And there were a number of indications that he wasn't coming back to Jerusalem in a teaching capacity. Uh, though though tried and went back there and came back after a short time and said he didn't feel his older member's mind there. And if he couldn't feel his older member's mind there, that wasn't the place to remain. So, so now he was telling this, Jesus was telling this to his students, those that wanted to be with him, those that felt like they recognized him and therefore were already prepared to leave everything behind at that moment in order to give all their energy, all their time and attention to learning the lessons that they had to learn because they recognized the teacher. Uh, I mean, in the human kingdom, there's comparisons with that, but and those comparisons are when people gravitate to learning from somebody and recognize something about that person that they want to hear more about from. And in the early in the 60s and in that 70s and that time period, that was happening on a bigger scale. I think would be safe to say, on an accelerated way, because the individuals that learned that Americans and English and other nationalities uh, were reaching out for uh, higher learning in terms of the religions. They were not wanting to be strictly Judeo Christian anymore. It didn't make sense to them. There was something about the teachings or the people that were delivering the teachings that it just didn't work for them for one reason or another. And so they were the prime individuals who would be ready for something new to come along, but not just anything. They would be also uh, not wanting to put their energy into something that just didn't float their boat. And so they would be trying this and trying that, going to school for this or that, um, because that's what humans do. Uh, with and and humans that a soul was sent by the next level to interface with that human vehicle, they have that sense of being on a quest, wanting to learn something. It may not occur to them that way, but if they're looking at alternative views of things, alternative translations from the establishment, and not translations, but well, even that, even they're not happy with, if they're in the Bible, then they're not happy with just one version. They want to look at other versions, and that will lead them to seeing that there's different ways of interpreting certain words, and so they're going to be inquisitive about those kind of things. Not everybody, of course. It might, I don't know, it might be a few people that do that relative to the population, or do it in their own way. But the thing is that they're looking, they're willing to change. My partner Kathy talked about that she would be asking questions about Judas and things that for some reason, she had a sense that there was more to that story, even though that didn't occur to her that way. That's what it boils down to. When we have a question about something, I mean, it could have been answered in a number of ways, but it just so happens, Doe felt like uh, Judas um, loved his older member, Jesus, so much that he was willing to do a task like he did. And so, isn't it interesting how he was demonized? But of course, some people are, most people aren't going to think that Doe knew what he was talking about regarding the relationship with Judas. But some people hear that and think, oh, okay, that's before they lost their vehicles. And then after that, by getting the ones that they first hybridized to hybridize more. So what you got are individuals on spacecrafts that are not necessarily all that evolved. Like, because they've been raised in a very isolated environment on their spacecrafts where they weren't getting next level tutelage, I guess. I'm not sure of some of this, I mean, uh, I'm not trying to um, act like I'm, expanding anything. I don't really want to expand anything. I'm just going through the things that Doe and T have said over the years, and they're it's like it's like teaching the artificial intelligence. Uh, although when doing that, there's always the danger, which is not necessarily a danger in a lot of circumstances. I don't think um, of getting the wrong interpretation or just getting things wrong. So it's this is just for my um, from my mind trying to pull on Doe's mind and T's mind to be able to give to people a little more than they might get from anyone else out there. I say might because I don't know, because humans pick up on things. If it's in the ether, if it's been, you know, uh, highlighted the way that T and Doe's and crew came to highlight that they were the return, even though they didn't need to be told that, the ones that became the graduate students, because they recognized it. And so, but it was for the sake of those that weren't quite that prepared to actually leave everything behind and go with the older member at the time. I mean, there could have been many that uh, were in that condition of life of leaving everything behind. And it's interesting how a number of the graduates would have known that uh, they would even be leaving uh, parts of their family. And what occurs to me now is that they did that to be examples, so people knew that that was something that was part of the program, not to do as a regimen, not to do as an instruction, not to do as a commandment or anything, but to do because the older members didn't want you to be with them if you were going to bring your family, and your family could join. the adults anyway. Uh, but they wouldn't be a family anymore. They would be another member of the crew or member of the group, another student to the teacher. And so those returning souls already know a bunch about the program. So it doesn't sound new to them when they hear it. In fact, they expect it. And so now individuals um, who are taking everything in, uh, I'm not saying from me, I'm saying from, I might be the instrument of it. Like if I do bring up something in scripture and somebody's light goes off and says, oh, wow, that is the same thing, isn't it? Leaving everything behind was what happened to Jesus' disciples. But that's not what you see happening with cults. Cults, other cults, the children are often involved, but not the cult of cults, because the cult of cults isn't propagating a human family. They're propagating a family of mind rather than a family of biology. And that's why people grow up and one way or another, some uh, are compelled to leave their nest as soon as they can. As soon as they're an adult, and I mean, not even before that. Some leave the nest because, the parents are terrible in one way or another, or the caregivers, or whatever the circumstance is. So, this information, this knowledge, this recognition uh, of the way that T and Do have and crew have delivered to the human kingdom their mind, their information, their true information. Instead of there's nothing about it that's deceitful. Where the misinformation mind comes from those who broke away and went against the next level, that uh, is disinformation mind. It's misinformation mind. It's all those malformation minds, however we want to say it. It's deceitful, even though they don't necessarily think it's deceitful, because the ones that are putting it out um, are not looking to the next level for how to do that or how to do anything. I don't know. I mean, maybe some do, try to talk to the chief of chiefs, which would still be for someone that, because this, what we're talking about would be a soul that had so influenced a human vehicle see that human vehicle or a human equivalent vehicle, that because it might be a hybridization of whatever sperm and egg they might have had in their freezers if they had them, on their spacecrafts if they had them, and sperm and egg that they get from human abductees. Okay, whatever mixture that they put together and nurtured in different ways, probably trying different experiments with how to nurture or even monitor individuals back in the human kingdom that were going to give birth to a baby that was inseminated on a spacecraft during an abduction experience. You know, they were given some kind of a drug or, put them into some kind of a state of delusion, to help them deal with it, the circumstance, and so that they wouldn't fight back. Although some of them have reported that I think Betty Hill's husband, what was his name again? Barney Hill. I think he fought back a little bit, and there was some guy named Moody who I think punched uh, the space alien. Said it was a very like spongy kind of feeling that he felt when he punched one of those. I don't know, if it was a next level member doing a task or, oh, there's good old Quick Trip. Well, at least it's only 54 miles away, so we can stop there on the way tomorrow, or I can. I'm working alone. But I should have stopped there just now. It is a little far away. But this car gets good mileage, so actually, if there's one here, there is Circle K. I'm going to go to that and get at least a few gallons. Um, oh, it's not a bad price either. Oh, it's 253. I don't know if that's the. Oh, cash is 243. All right. So I'm just going to leave this here and just lock the car so that everything stays running. So I'm taking a little break, folks. Okay. That was good. Get some gas. Wouldn't be cutting it too short. How do I get out of here? Maybe this back way. Oh yeah, this is the way to go out. Okay, good. So I can get right back on the highway. So I don't know that I had that much more to say. Okay, we're back on track. 45 minutes away. So the next level does a lot of preparation. So, um, for all the people that identify with this information from Tiendo to some degree, um, and that recognize the formula as is spelled out in the away team document from Deep Space, Surfaces Before Departure, that Junodi wrote in the Heaven's Gate book and heavensgate.com. Um, then I imagine then those souls that are that wouldn't even probably be interested in this information if there wasn't a soul associated with their vehicle. Um, Basically, taking that information in to whatever degree, and it becomes a recognition that they have that uh, from the overview of those that the next level saves for a future opportunity, which is also in that talked about in that away team document. Um, they will have that memory, that soul memory, if you want to call it that. That's the formula. So when they're then the next level then sends that soul back to have a true reincarnation, because it's not automatic, and only the next level can make souls, and only the next level can destroy souls. So when they send those souls back, which Jesus also talks about happening, in the parable of the seeds and the tares, because the lower forces are also sowing their seeds of disinformation that creates plants, human vehicles with that also were potentially recipients of souls by the next level before, during, or even after they left. they're, they're continuously faced with those face. I'm saying it that way because of Revelation 6, which I'll have to go through that during one of these sessions a little bit. The end of 6. So talking about some future perspectives. Uh, Particularly if you're interested in looking at it, look where it says that the people of the world want to be hidden. They want to be hidden from his face. And I don't believe he's talking about the face of the Lamb. So, because that would be what might be the face of the Lamb. In other words, the face of Jesus, the face of the soul that was incarnate at that time. Because that soul has a face. They have a vehicle. So, but how people would see it would probably be based on their own what they had accepted and not accepted about the reality of beings from other worlds and in relationship to the reality of those beings not only from other worlds but truly extraterrestrial. In other words, they have no one terrestrial location. Where they rest their heads. So, I wish I could see the chat. So let me go through because John 14:21 through 24. I'm just going to read 24, where he says, "He that loves me not doesn't keep my saying." Oh no, it's the one before that. It's 14:23. Said if a human loves me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our abode with him. And the word abode comes from the Greek word mone. It's like money. But it's mone, which it's used as the word mansion one time, and it's used as abode one time. I mean, the word abode, in the English word abode, you will see many times, but it's a different word. It doesn't convey the same thing. It means like hanging around somebody and stuff like that. But the way that it's meant to be used here, it's a staying, abiding, dwelling, to make an abode. And metaphorically, well, this one doesn't say it. They put a metaphorical on this when it's not, there's nothing metaphorical about it. But then again, when it's used as mansion, that's metaphorical, right? Well, but not even then, it's not necessarily metaphorical. If, if Jesus knew that his older member was on a spacecraft that lived in a physical uh, um, house. I mean, what other way is there to say it? Like mansion is like saying it's a big house. It's a a beautiful house. Something. So that's where that's good about that saying that my like because he said in my father's house there are many mansions, many mone, many dwelling places. Dwelling place is a primary definition as well. But you don't see that in this software. But you will see it in the Strong's Concordance, even though this was based on the Strong's Concordance and the Greek and Hebrew dictionary books that I have, but they no longer work on the current operating systems. But I wish I could get a version that does. If anybody comes across uh, good Bible software with the Greek and Hebrew dictionaries associated with it, even for a small amount of money, I would buy it so that I could have it on my computer and not have to be beholden to the internet for it. I wanted to have something that I can use when there's no internet. Even though that's not the way that the world's going with software. So anyway, and the other verse, yeah, I think that's about all I'm going to go through right now. And so good night, folks.